A little over a year ago, I was doing a painting of a farm scene. And as I was working on the painting process, doing the washes, I was just really caught up in the moment. And my wife asked me some simple math, like she normally does. And I looked at her with a blank stare. And I said, I can't access that side of my brain right now. And I went back to painting, and I was just in such a state of flow that I couldn't believe that feeling. And I've only had it a few other times, but that is something that AI will never take away from you. And in this video, I want to talk about you, your art, and why AI can't replace everything about artists. Again, that feeling was just a magical experience, whether you call it flow or being in the zone, whichever terminology you like, it is talked about, like the runner's high, and just a level of focus. It's a meditative state. It was transformative. And as somebody who has battled with addiction with tobacco and alcohol, I can tell you they don't even compare. Like this high that I felt, which is my body's own dopamine, serotonin, and just being present to the moment as somebody who's been labeled ADD. I don't like that label, but it is what it is. Um, it's a magical thing. And so in this video, I want to talk about ways to get you into that flow state so that you will not be worried about AI. You will just be focused on your art and moving your life forward. Stay tuned. Another moment that AI can never replicate is when you're outside and you're experiencing nature. You've got the sun on your skin and you're just surrounded. We've become so disconnected from the world, the actual world. We're either in a virtual world or we're just always in our home. And AI can't replace going out in nature. Now, if you can get AI to cook dinner for you while you're out in nature, great. But the experience of that low lying sun shifting as it approaches the zenith of the sky and you see light shifting, you see the scene that you're painting in so many different ways. AI can't capture that. AI can't steal that from you. And then as you're there in wonder and awe, again tapping into your body's own drugstore pharmacy and experiencing that dopamine and serotonin and just getting vitamin D and absorbing the sun and just living rather than telling some bot what you want it to draw. Now, granted, I've messed with AI. I use AI to help me with proposals and writing, but I don't use it to paint and I don't use it for drawing. I have played with it though, and it is fun and it is neat, some of the things it can do. However, it just kind of loses its luster after a while. It's like a video game that you beat. Once you've done so many drawings, it's kind of like, ho hum, big deal. It did 30 drawings, but I don't feel any better. It's not a sense of accomplishment for me. It's just, look, I got it to, follow a script and do something stupid. So focusing on your art, and that focuses on you, and then you in turn are happier and you are bringing your authentic self to the world. In Rick Rubin's book and in interviews I've listened to, he says the world needs your art, and more so than the world needing your art, the world needs you to show up as your best version of you, not with some little book of things that you did with AI. If people notice that you're happy, hey, what did you do this weekend? Oh, I went out painting and I did a few paintings of this and I saw a coyote and, whatever it is, experience, not that final painting. Your painting might not turn out that great, but the experience of being there is. My first few plein air paintings, another area where AI cannot replace you, and your experience is going out and painting outdoors or even doing a still life. But the first time I went out plein air painting, I built my bike and I went to a neighboring town and I was all set up. And suddenly I realized that I'd been using some technology as a substitute for lack of talent. And it really hobbled my growth. And so there I was, and I'm trying to draw, get things to scale. And it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. But the experience was awesome. And that's the thing. It's the joy of the process, not necessarily the outcome. But I can look at my plein air paintings that I've most recently done, go back in time and look at that first one and be like, I've made some dramatic improvements. And that's what it's about. It's about that overall journey. Each little experience being a stepping stone to a better version of the best painter you can be. Right now, you're in the middle of your journey and you don't know how long it's going to go. You can only look back and say, okay, where have I grown? And maybe where have I slowed my growth by using technology? AI is going to do the same thing. If you allow it to do art, I mean, unless it's your job and you have to do that, but you're going to cheat yourself of those experiences and that growth. You're going to get better at writing commands for a bot that doesn't care if you die tomorrow. But the world will enjoy and embrace a better version of you because you're out there experiencing life, joy. You're getting that hit of serotonin just pumping through your veins, dopamine, and really, it's you can't replace it. It's just so wonderful. And sometimes when you do a great painting, you have a little bit of a crash because you had such a dopamine rush. You need to kind of take a break and let your dopamine get back to its baseline. It will take a big dip and then you'll go back to your baseline and then back to painting. If you can keep it going as long as possible, great. But the world needs a better version of you all the time because right now it's kind of shit out there. So, as I was saying, AI is a bit of a crutch. It's kind of exciting and at first it's fun, but let me say this. If you use AI and a 3D printer to make you an Iron Man suit or a Batman suit, you're still not Batman. You still don't have muscles. You're not going to the gym. Reading about going to the gym isn't the same as going to the gym. And painting is the painter's version of going to the gym. It doesn't have to be a gallery piece. The only way you're going to get better is through brush mileage. And eventually you will learn that the only way to get more dopamine out of AI is to do more AI, which isn't going to make you any better. The job of like when you're going to the gym isn't to spend all your time in the gym, it's to have the benefits of going to the gym. And going out plein air painting to me is like American Ninja Warrior. You're going outside, you're doing the little different, exercises, and you've got the real gym and you've got the outdoor gym. I've got my studio where I do studio paintings, and then I go out and I do plein air. So that's like rock climbing for me. Trust me, I won't be doing any rock climbing anytime soon, but the analogy is that. So there was a time, and I'll go over this again, that when I was first doing videos, I was cutting out the designs, I was tracing, I was using a light table, and I was just trying to crank out as many videos as possible. But what I realized was I wasn't necessarily growing as an artist. I wasn't, getting better at drawing. I was getting better at tracing. And AI is kind of the same way. You just get better at doing that. And my art, while I had fun doing it and I was learning how to make videos and how to do YouTube, I soon learned that there was an emptiness in that and that I needed to do my art for me and do my videos for you and have them be different things. And I want to talk about the mindset and I want to talk about the pitfalls and the traps that we all stumble upon as artists and keep you on a path and let you know where I've made my errors and that hopefully the cautionary tale of what I have done will keep you from doing it, the tracing, the AI, whatever it is. There are a lot of things that look sexy and slick out there. I've got 100 paint tubes and probably 150 brushes. Most of the time, I'm using 4 or 5 colors and 3 or 4 brushes. So it's not, there's no magic. The magic is in the moment. The magic is when you are at the easel, at your tripod, out in the wild, out in your studio. When you're painting, you're in the zone and everything else has disappeared. And you are in your state of flow, that's where the magic is, not at a computer, especially if you're working a day job or, excuse me, a desk job where you're already in front of a computer all day. I was day trading for a while and working in a call center in front of a computer. I hate being in front of a computer. I love painting, but there are times where I have to do video editing. I have to do some things on the computer, but those are have tos. This is should. You should be painting. You should be doing what makes you happy. I don't shop anymore for random stuff and get dopamine from here in the cash register. I get dopamine from doing a painting and learning, whether it was a good painting or not, whether it's critiqued well or not. That is where the sweet spot is. There's a saying that perfect is the enemy of good. And I've talked about perfection in other videos. I am not a perfectionist, but sometimes you get bogged down in details. You start tracing, you're using, technology rather than developing talent. And it's, you're trying to get done, but getting done and getting better sometimes aren't synonymous. And so sometimes you have to just say, okay, 80% is where I need to be. Um, as I've been working the last few months and developing my drawing style, I realized that I like to do a tight drawing at the moment and looser painting. So I'm working on that right now. A good tight foundation, and then allows me to be loose and get outside the lines a little bit. But tracing might be perfect, but then there's a rigidity to your work. There's lack of freedom and that other version of flow where, you're just moving about and not concerned about the outcome because, oh, I don't want to break it. It's so precious. And as somebody who works in watercolor, I think that is the curse of watercolor because people are convinced, they've been told that you can't make mistakes in watercolor. Don't go too dark. Watercolor is about looseness and this and that. And it's all a bunch of mental garbage. And the people that have told me that, and this will be in a review later, the people that told me that no longer paint in watercolor. And it's like, no wonder you don't paint with all those rules. And now you're burdening me with that. So don't get burdened with that junk and then bringing it back to this. Make sure you're working on your craft, that you're getting better. When I was 20, I would go home at the end of the day. I was a graphic designer, and I would go home at night and I would draw. And I didn't cheat. I used light tables at work, and then I would draw freehand at home. And God, I wish I could get that time back. The time between then and now is a major regret. And now I think that making up for lost time, I got into the trap of trying to trace. And then I realized I'm just cheating myself. So don't cheat yourself by falling into the AI trap. Develop your craft, pour yourself into it as much as you can. Look at your life and say, what am I doing that's giving me a false sense of accomplishment or dopamine? What is it that is giving me pleasure, but really is just more clutter in my life? Really examine your life and really put yourself into your art. So if you're an artist and you've identified as that, the world needs you to be your best version of yourself. And you also need to keep working on things. But what we don't need is another angry version of yourself or whatever. That's where I was. That's why I had substance abuse issues. And I want to use an analogy about. I'm going to use Tiger Woods, and now I know that Tiger Woods isn't perfect, but nobody is. But I don't. I don't look at one or two bad things that somebody did and just throw out all of their talent. Tiger's dad got him started in golf. Now, if his mom had stomped her foot and said, no, he's going to be a doctor and accountant, we wouldn't have one of the world's greatest golfers ever. And somebody who broke a lot of barriers for African Americans and people of color. I mean, he's dual race. We didn't need another shitty accountant. We needed Tiger Woods. And we don't need more fucking AI. What we need is you to show up as your best version of yourself and give us your art. Share your experience, share in your passion with the rest of us, because what this world doesn't need right now is another fucking asshole. And until next time, lovely to see you again, my friend.